Okay, so please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
I do want to apologize, Gary. I forgot to add Joe onto the agenda for his reports. So Joe and Danielle at some points will be giving reports.
Yeah.
My apologies for leaving them off the agenda.
Not a bother.
I can't
Okay,
imagine
so-
how, Mary, there's not a lot on this month's agenda. It's a long one, for sure.
Yeah.
And Danielle, you said?
Yes. She's at a basketball
Yeah.
program over there right now.
Okay, all right, so, welcome to Milton, Town of Washington, excuse me. Need a motion to reappoint Ron Galenti to the Board of Assessment Review. He agreed to serve again.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Joe, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion to appoint Steve Curley to the Board of Assessment Review.
I'll make that motion.
Joe, second.
Second.
Mike, second, all in favor?
Aye.
And that's an unexpired term, right?
Right,
Right.
for Jeff.
Yep.
Michelson. Okay, so we're going to open the public hearings on the budget, the proposed budget, and also community development block grant ideas. So a motion to open both of those, please.
So moved.
Bob, second.
Second.
Leslie, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, a motion to accept with regret the resignation from Peter Audia from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
We'll make the motion.
I'll second it
Joe,
with
second.
deep regret.
Yeah.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Right. Won't be around to attend the meetings.
Yeah, really.
Wish him lots of luck.
Moving away.
Best wishes in this new
Yes.
And also accept a resignation from Ted Ilongo as a park caretaker.
Motion.
Mike,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. The resolution for the submission of the community development block grant application. Well,
Do you want to have Bob make comments on the other project?
oh, I see. Oh, I'm sorry. I went right by that.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Go ahead, Bob. On Teddy for the new caretaker.
Well, the more that Mike and I have been involved up at the park, and the more we get our eyes open, that it really is a lot of work. There's a lot of work
Oh, I
to
know.
keep that place up.
Oh, yeah.
And rightfully so. You know, Chelsea fired the young guy that was working there, and I think he was overwhelmed. I don't think he could handle, you know, there's not too many Tom Fioris around.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is Tom Fiore could handle it all with ease, but most people are not going to be able to. So we really have to focus on when we get an applicant for the caretaker position, we might be upfront with them and says, if you get overwhelmed and you can't handle all of the items that we need you to do, you gotta let us know. Like we did this year, we had a guy mowing the grass. That took a big load off of Ted, for instance.
Mhm.
Ted just didn't like weed eating. It was too hot, those hot days. And to be honest with you, the list of things that he needed to get done before we closed the pool did not get done. Not a lot of them. And I'm not blaming him. I'm just thinking that he just didn't have either the capacity to do it or the time to do it. So we really need to take a real hard look at, getting somebody good in there. And if we need some extra help, we may have to do that.
We did build into the budget a secondary position under
Right,
the head guy.
Right.
So maybe we post for both currently.
Yeah.
We start to take in resumes and we can go through them. But I think the acreage of the place is an issue. It's a big, big acreage, the upper fields, the lower fields. The building, some of the improvements needed on the building, which are seasonal improvements, it's not the capital, requires somebody that has the flexibility to do that kind of work. It's not just cutting and mowing and trimming, but you've got some maintenance work. So it's almost like a building supervisor position up on the grounds. So I think if we ever start advertising now, we've got enough months where we can get somebody in there, plus the gentleman that likes cutting. He just loves riding that machine and just cutting and cutting and cutting. Leaves were overwhelming. Those guys were working almost 10 hours a day trying to get rid of all the leaves and stuff. When that happens, other things fall by the wayside, like cleaning out excess material that's no longer relevant to the site, getting it to the dump, all that. So Ted did a great job this summer.
Yeah.
I mean, he stepped right in, as did Richard.
but he told me he just didn't have time to
Right.
clean those chlorine pipes,
Right.
change the bolts on the
Yeah.
slide, and a list of things. And he really didn't even have time to organize the equipment shed
Right.
very well.
So I think we advertise now, maybe we'll pick up
Yeah,
some.
we should start
Start
now,
now.
absolutely.
So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, that if we get the right person or two people, I think we can get that place like in really good shape, really quick.
Okay, so, thanks, Bud. So the community development block grant application, we're kind of focusing on accessibility to the town building and to town park. More specifically, a handicap ramp with a handrail, a handicap accessible automatic door, some handicap designated parking spots, accessible bathroom, and if funding remains, some heat and lighting as well. And we plan on, we can apply up to 100,000, am I right, Mary?
Mhm.
And that's our plan,
Yes,
am I right?
yeah.
Does anybody have any comments they want to make in addition to that?
Or other ideas, it is a public hearing about it. The grant is a federal grant, so it requires that whatever projects we do service low to moderate income residents in the town of Washington, which seniors automatically qualify for, and
Yep.
handicapped adults. So
Right.
this is something that we really need, that would help support programming that Danielle wants to do, and it fits within the parameters of the grant.
Yep, absolutely.
So with this list that we have, I mean, $100,000 cover a lot of that. I mean, it might not.
I think
You see
so.
what I
She's
mean?
getting bids now to see what
This is a
actual costs
pretty
are,
big
but yes,
list,
100,000 should maybe not do all of it,
Right.
but do a
We can
majority.
prioritize what.
Yes.
Right, just to
What we need.
as far as, I met with Danielle and with the heating AC guy, and there's many different ways we can do it. So it's a big space.
Yeah.
Danielle wants to put a slider in to divide the room.
Yeah,
so we
right,
can
sure,
have, two different groups in there. And the ramp going into the building may be sufficient enough slope for handicap. We might just have to put a railing there. And a few designated parking spaces and not that big of a deal.
Right.
But the doors are real expensive.
The doors and the bathroom
Yeah.
might
Need some
You were gonna-
modification.
but
Yeah,
it might
some
also be-
railings
yeah.
and things, but the door is, it's a big door. I don't know whether it has to be an automatic bathroom door, but I don't think so.
When does what's the deadline on all of this?
So the letter of intent, which is outlined in
Yeah.
the agenda, is due next Friday.
Okay.
And then the full application is due December 9th. They only require sort of a rough budget
Mhm.
estimate. It's not, they don't have to be multiple bids for each item. So whatever
Right.
quote you get for the door, just to give them a
Right.
ballpark
We've
is,
got somebody working on the
Yeah.
door and somebody working on the heating system.
that's great.
If you go through the history of these grants and look at what had other communities, a lot of what we're looking to do, they're very supportive of those other communities doing similar things, so.
Just
A
to
good
bring it
shot.
to everybody's attention
Yeah.
in case they don't know, the big issue with using that building in the winter is we drain the whole campus at this time of the year. And the well and the tank for the well are in the concession building. And by the way, if you get a chance to stop up, you should see the way she cleaned that concession room. It's spotless. She did a
Good job.
fantastic
Yeah.
job.
Good job.
Thank
Great.
you. But so we have to figure out a way to get water just to that building and have a couple different ideas.
Okay.
So it's another expense, but long-term, it'll be, the right thing to do.
So,
That's great.
the handicap ramp that we're talking about, like, what about this one here? Like,
That
So
wouldn't qualify.
It doesn't
doesn't
qualify.
qualify?
You can't have anything that is, anything that, for any projects to a town hall. They don't, it's
I
not
see.
for town halls, but it is
I
for,
see.
but it is for rec departments.
Okay,
So rec departments and, or rec facilities, I should say,
okay.
do qualify.
Right.
And they're extremely helpful. The county, they're willing to look at our letter and give us feedback. And so I
I saw
feel
that.
pretty optimistic about the
yeah,
possibility, but you
Isn't
never
this
know.
the rec office in here? You couldn't.
I didn't think about that, Joe.
Well, that's why-
I
that's
mean,
why-
You know,
Yeah.
The last time we tried this with the building, that's why we ended up having to do the lift.
Okay.
Because they didn't want this kind
I
of
see.
facility.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments on this application for the block grant? If not, I'll have accept a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Bob, second.
Second, go
All
ahead.
in favor?
All right.
Aye.
And I'm not going to read the whole resolution, but it basically is what we just roughly covered for the community development block grant. So a motion to adopt this resolution, please. Mike, second.
I'll second.
Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Leslie, are we good on next week? The
On
submission?
submitting it. You and I need to figure out the portal piece. What I'm going to do is tomorrow, I'm going to send this to the county just to get feedback on the letter. And then
Okay.
depending on that, we should be good to go for the,
Okay.
I need to coordinate with you how we
No, we're gonna-
actually submit it.
Okay.
Because I know you have the code. You have all the codes,
I don't
man.
know, but we'll talk
Yeah, okay.
Monday, yeah.
Does the county have a dedicated person that works? like we
Yes,
call
there's
it?
a woman,
White person?
Christy
Good.
Bonomo, who did
Great.
she did the sort of the Q&A for any municipalities that were interested, and she's been very, very helpful. And it was just town of Washington, Dover that participated, so.
Because that always speeds it up when you have it.
Yeah, no, she's
Direct
been
point
really,
person.
and she's willing to give us feedback and tell us, the best way to, because it is a federal grant, so she can help us navigate it, which is great.
Okay. So Lois, do you want to go over the budget highlights? Do you have that?
I do not.
You do now.
Okay, so the total appropriations are $4,788,081. $5,900 and $906 greater than the 2022 budget appropriations. The total revenue is $1,487,558. $453,388 more than the 2022 revenue. Fund balance is being used to reduce the tax amount is $351,574, which is $33,574 more than in 2023.
2022.
Yeah, that should be 22.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So the total levy to the taxpayers is $2,948,949, which is $93,944 more than 2023.
22.
22.
You should say,
Yeah.
yes. The village property is 0.87 in 2023. It's a 0.2 increase over 22. Assessed values have decreased in the village by $1,713,620.
Wow.
Town outside the village, $2 per thousand, or 0.03 cent increase over 2022. Assessed values have increased in the town by $16,587,377. The fire tax is 5.1 cents per thousand, or it's a 0.02 cent increase over 2022. The library tax is 0.15 cents per thousand, and that is a 0.01 decrease over 2022. So the, what we have in here is town hall improvements. We put in to replace the handicap accessible ramp, roof repair, carpeting in a courtroom, which I think was even in this year's, but we're
Yes.
taking it out of fund balance.
Fund balance.
So,
And I think,
and I think there
excuse me a
was an
second, but
additional.
I think Bob has just a quick comment about the roof, which you talked to me about today.
Well, I had J&A Roofing out of Kingston, did a lot of work for me in the past, and they came, he took the drone up
Mhm.
and just did a quick look at the roof, and he thinks the shingles are in good shape. I told him about the leak, showed it to him, he goes, it's weird, you know, sometimes there's a little gap in a shingle somewhere.
Right,
and
right.
you get a rain that comes sideways and it travels.
What about flashing around the chimney? That could be a cause.
Yeah, it looked good. It looked okay. He said the chimney looks like it might need some
So it
attention.
could be.
If we do a roof someday, before we do the roof, we may have somebody repoint the chimney.
Yeah.
I don't think Skip's gonna climb up there, but I'll have him, see if we can get a drone picture of it
Yeah.
and have him let us know what's going on. But he thought the shingles looked good. He says, and I get this comment from everybody. I'm gonna say it again. I say it every time we sit here. I need explanation. Why do people not want to do municipal work? They just don't want to do it. He said, I do it for you, but he says, I don't like municipal work. It's
Like
paperwork
Yeah.
and paying the
Yeah.
prevailing wage. And he said, it's just, and you know, I think it's also, they've all been busy, so they don't need, you know, municipal work. So, but I get that from almost everybody you talk to.
Yeah.
And at some point, maybe our legal counsel can look into what can be done about that. I mean,
You
know, we don't-
do, Sarah.
yeah, we just don't, you know, if you could operate this place like a regular business, we could save a lot of money, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
believe it or not,
Absolutely.
you know? It's, the prevailing wage thing is terrible. They don't want to bid on anything. They, you know,
Yeah.
I talked to 2 gas companies for propane tanks. They hang up on you almost. They don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
You know? So that's my
Thanks, Bob.
comment about the
Yeah.
roof.
Sorry,
And
Lois.
So
That's okay.
tomorrow and Saturday, we'll
We'll see.
keep an eye on that leak. The last time we had a heavy rain, it didn't leak at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, well, you know, it may be something in the spring, we'll actually get somebody up there and poke around really good and hard.
Okay, additions to the budget, the purchase of a drone for use by the Office of the Assessor. 25,000 towards the reval of properties within the next several years. So we're putting that away again in
Right.
anticipation of that. Addition of a part-time floating clerk to cover the positions when out of the office. Additional recreation programs, including upgrades to the park building for senior citizen activities and the preschool program. Allocation for a grant writer to pursue funding for initiatives such as bridge and culvert replacement, park and pool improvements, establishing natural resources inventory and climate smart community initiatives. Contract with the Dutchess County Sheriff's Department for increased road patrols within the town. Addendum to comprehensive plan related to hospitality and zoning amendments to coordinate with comprehensive plan addendum.
Any questions for Lois? How did we end up with the tax cap? I know we're under.
We are under $6,252.
Hey,
That's great.
good, that's awesome.
I have a question, and maybe Tim can comment on it, but the assessed values decreased in the village? I mean, with all the stuff that's going on in the village? I mean,
Bennett,
oh, okay,
yeah, they used to pay taxes.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the key.
That's the key.
Yeah,
Because I see, you see all these houses
Yeah.
being
Right.
porches and put on and additions and renovations.
Yeah, so now that that's off the tax roll,
How much was that?
I think it was almost all of that $1 million difference. in the-
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes
Really,
sense.
I thought they reassessed that before we closed the contract, to recognize the fact that it was, Lisa did that, to recognize the fact that it was non-valuable building. Lisa's not here.
no, she's not.
No.
We'll find out.
I'm surprised about that.
Find out.
But follow on Bob's point, so if the assessed value of the village goes down, why does the tax rate go up? That's more than a sentence. I'll take it offline, but the assessed value of the village goes down.
That's a question for me.
Because the expenses have increased this year over last year, and if we have a lower assessed value, that expense is shared by those of us in the village, so we're paying more
Right.
for
Right.
taxes.
It's an allocation based on the assessed values, right? Village versus non-village,
Yes, it's the formula, and it's 0.18
okay?
plus or minus.
Yeah.
But the village, so the village's portion of that, I don't have the budget right in front of me.
Here, I think I have.
So I need the
Oh.
worksheets for the.
Right here. This.
Here it is.
I got
Oh,
it,
you got
yep.
it?
I got it right here.
So last year, the village portion of the general fund was, no, I'm sorry, it's not that. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, I just have the assessed value and the multiplier.
Do you need the worksheet that's at the end?
Well, I need I don't know the amount that the
I guess
That
that
the
would be
village-
detailed, but
the
just
village
in
amount
general,
improved.
Unless the village's
She needs that page.
demand for services has gone up, if the assessed value of the property there goes down, then it ought to be, I want to say, the same, if not a lower proportion of the total.
No, because there's more money, it's a higher expense this year than we had in 2022.
I mean, the village versus the town, versus the non.
No, village 2023 versus village 2022, the expenses increased, as they have in all departments. So the village's share, which is the 0.18, Subtotal.
No, I
Village amount,
0.18 makes sense. Okay,
okay, so the village,
I'm asking the tax rate.
the village tax rate is 0.866.
Okay, so it's 0.7, all right. And it was 0.85 last year.
Last year, yep,
I'm just wondering why the tax rate went up.
because the amount of expenses went up.
You're spreading it over fewer people.
If the expenses go up and the assessed value goes down,
The rate's gonna go up.
the rate will go up because we're paying.
Okay,
more.
fine, so that went up proportional to the increase in the town rate? It's not an allocation, it's basically it's a rate,
The rate is
Comparison.
based upon
Rate
that
comparison.
0.18,
okay.
yeah.
So they both went up 2%.
I don't have a percentage.
It looks like it's rounding, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, got it.
That's right.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for Lois? Hey, Lois. Come up here for a minute. I have something for you.
You do.
Yeah. You have been chosen the employee of the moment.
Thank you.
Awarded to Lois Patron for the relatively thankless task of preparing the 2023 budget.
Could at least frame it.
Your efforts are not in vain. It totally matters. So we'd like to present this to you.
Thank you so much.
Great job, Lois.
Thank
Is
you,
there at least
Lois.
$100 bill on the back?
Yeah, I'll take it to the bank of Dover, see if they catch it.
Yeah, see if you catch it.
That's great.
Thank you, Lois.
You're welcome.
So Mary, did you want to give your
Sure.
report?
Yeah. So everyone has received the minutes for the budget workshops and September 8th, which have also been posted to the town website. Chrissy has completed the October minutes. We will be scanning them to you. We just, she did a great job for doing minutes for the first time. So you'll get them, and I'm happy with what she's done. Chrissy will also be here next month at the December meeting because my son is getting married that weekend.
Oh,
and
wow.
Fantastic.
she's helping me out there. So
A
thank
few
you.
marriages going on.
Yeah.
Jeez, gosh.
All
Just
right.
very
That's why we're all a
Cool
little
stuff.
grayer and have a little less money in the bank.
So I just want to let you all know that we have received from the Secretary of State confirmation that the local law 2 of 2022 for the Code of Ethics has been received and filed by them.
Good.
So it is an actual local
Awesome.
law now.
If we can notify the chairman of that committee
I
as
did.
such.
Yep.
Great.
Also, we established an email for the Board of Ethics, which will be ethics@washingtonny.org. I reached out to them about training, and we'll be talking about that as well. The reorganization meeting, our regular meeting is January 12th. We don't have anyone to be sworn in January, so do you want to keep it for our January 12th meeting, or do you want to make it earlier?
It's fine with me. Anybody have a problem?
works, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And before I do the solar, we have scheduled, and I'll be sending an email to all employees and volunteers, an active shooter training with the state police that will be held on Wednesday, December 7th at 11 a.m. So state police will come in and do a walkthrough of the building prior to that, point out some things that we might want to make changes to, and then they'll do a training for everybody
Right.
that wishes to participate.
Right.
So I want to thank Lisa for organizing that. That was a great idea.
Chrissy, get you a flak jacket.
Yeah. Yeah,
Guess it's not funny.
unfortunately not. So regarding the solar escrow array at
Right.
Cary,
We read that.
originally, when they were before the planning board asked for a bond of $25,000 or $26,000 to
Decommission.
decommission it, correct. And the solar company asked not to have a bond. They didn't necessarily want to put out that kind of money, hold up their own money at that time, and had said they would pay us $1,000 per year. So they were.
1,000 a year or 2,000?
1,000, yeah. So I was not excited about it back then. I had recommended we stick with the bond because of, paperwork involved on our end, having to remember to do this and everything else, make sure we get the money. Last year they were late, or 1 year they were late. Last year we had a call to remind them. This year we've heard nothing. So I spoke to Jeff about it. The resolution for the solar, giving them the ability to have the solar array down there, says if they don't make the payment, then we can say they have to go offline. We're not asking them to do that, but we are asking, I'm suggesting, and it's up to you folks if you want to do this or not, but I'm suggesting that we have them just come up with the rest of the money and do a bond for the rest of the money, rather than us having to
Well, I think in lieu of the fact that they
look for it.
just haven't been paying it, hoping we forget about it, is,
The due date was always August, so
Yes,
they
due date
defaulted on
hasn't
those due dates several times.
yeah.
So to get the money up front, then it's a closed issue if that happens.
So if we call it due, the total,
Correct.
see what they come back to us at,
I guess we'll give it
Yeah.
a shot.
and see what happens.
And if we have to negotiate an arrangement, we negotiate an arrangement.
Right.
But ask for the total amount now.
I think so. It was a good faith discussion, and they
Right.
sort of not fulfilled their end of the
Mhm.
agreement,
Right.
so more than once.
So we have to have something drafted through legal.
Do we need a resolution?
We have the
Yeah, we
resolution.
have it.
Jen did
And we
draft
have it.
something,
Yeah,
yeah.
the resolution is in your agenda packet.
Yep.
So if you're willing to go forward with this, we need a motion and a second.
A motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
All in favor?
And that is not to
Yeah.
carry, that is to the solar company that oversees the operation of the site.
We will notify all of them.
All three.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other item I have is related to the planning board and the escrow fees for applications that come before the planning board. We had an escrow of $750 for several years now. That was prior to us bringing on the engineers as a consultant, and we said we may have to revise that once we bring in the engineer for review. And there are some applications that go beyond the $750, and it's hasn't always been reported to them because the bills come in after the application is either approved or denied, and then we have to go back to them and say, we need more money. So we are suggesting, we consulted with AKRF and looking at what we've had people pay for escrows. All in all, I'm suggesting that we increase the escrow amounts as defined in this resolution. We can propose it this month and then pass it next month. And that way people have an opportunity to weigh in on it. But we're looking to increase the initial escrow deposit from $750 up to $1,500. $2,000 for projects under $10,000 in development costs. $5,000 for projects with $10,000 to $50,000 in development costs, and $10,000 for projects over $50,000 in development costs.
Are these kind of the standard, do you know,
Yeah, I
Mary?
was gonna say, these are not arbitrary. These are numbers that other municipalities use, that AKR works with.
Yeah,
And
we've
so
actually
I think-
discussed this before.
Yeah.
about the increase.
Suggested by our consultant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in the resolution, which currently is happening, if there's any unused escrow money, it does go back to the applicant. We'd like to reserve it for approximately 4 months to ensure that the bills have been received from the professionals and that the escrow is paid down accordingly. Any comments on that, Lois?
No, but, the 750 is just not sufficient.
It's not covering it.
No.
Mhm.
And is
That-
it,
that
Sounds
would
reasonable.
go
I think,
1 month.
it's Kristen who ends up being sort of the
Really,
debt collector.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It's just a lot of paperwork and just sometimes uncomfortable conversations with her having to go back to applicants
Absolutely.
after the fact, so.
Yes.
And Kristen and I are going to go over the accounts next week. But there's, money's due on escrow, so.
Sarah, have you had a chance to look at this at all?
Yes.
You did? And
I reviewed it. I thought that the numbers were pretty standard as far as consulting services, so
Yeah.
I definitely think it's a good increase.
Okay.
Always better to refund. It just protects the town more sufficiently than the
Okay, good.
750.
And we just
Yeah.
inform the applicants right when they come in that this is the standard and this is what's expected.
Yes.
So
Which helps them too, because then they can project what their budgets are gonna be.
Well, part of what so out of PACE's recommendations to updates on the website and process, Susan Meany for the planning board and Frank Rettel for the zoning board are working on kind of those kind of cheat sheets and checklists, and these new things will be incorporated in that. They'll have that information up front, right from James when they start out. If it's referred, they'll know what they're
That's awesome.
what they're getting
Good.
into before
Very
they begin the process.
So this is starting when?
Well, the
January?
resolution tonight, I'm asking you to approve the resolution introducing this.
Yeah.
And then in December, we'll vote on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So moved.
Okay,
thank
second?
you.
Second.
Bob, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we jumped over our friend, the highway super.
Yeah, we're gonna circle right back to Joe. Go
You noticed.
ahead, Joe.
Your trucks are in. One is being finished up in Latham, fitted, valve, body standard. The other truck is here, all fitted. They're of good size. You two obviously are aware of what they're all about, but I want to let you know that I think if this works out, which I think it will, you're going to be replacing 3 trucks with these at a savings of about $450,000.
In the future.
Well, 2 of them are now.
Right.
One is replacing 23, so we're not buying that this year.
Right. Gotcha.
So the future is now for that one. Then we're gonna go next year, 2 or 3 is about to go. That won't be replaced either. So, and then in the future, the next one will probably be a dump truck, so it doesn't really.
Joe, do they require these, do they require CDLs?
No, they do not.
They don't, right? The GVW is.
Yeah, GVW is down, but good thing, bad thing, I put large standards on, 4.5 ton. Is basically what some of the big trucks have on,
Yeah.
but they'll carry the weight, so we'll see. But, also, I got an email yesterday. I was made aware of this by the engineers, that Ridge, New York is, and I can't remember the exact amount of millions of dollars that they're putting out for grants.
Yep, saw that.
But Smoke Summit.
Yep.
No good project.
We should get on that like right away.
Immediately.
Yeah.
I sent it to Kathleen this morning, and we'll take a good hard look at it,
Yeah.
but I think we all get going on it quick. There's gonna be a lot of people, obviously, looking
Yeah.
for these grants.
Good.
The grant applications are due January, mid-January for one, and towards the end of January for the second.
Yep.
So I don't know if we need to talk about how we're going to apply. Are we going to use
Well-
Colliers or?
Yeah, I mean, that would be up to you, obviously, the board. They brought it to my attention, but I'm not, It's up to you guys how you want to go about
Well,
it.
didn't we,
Obviously, you need somebody to write it for you.
didn't we get some kind of rough figures from, with Chazen the last time we went and looked at it?
We did, that was several years ago.
Right.
But, and I'm not sure because I wasn't really that involved in it, it was when I first got here,
Yeah.
but we should look at it probably, review it and see if it's still, fits. I know that they did, Colliers did take a look at it and say that it was in the bridge category, not the culvert category.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure what produced that, I believe it was the length.
So
That's right.
But we'll
That's
need
right.
to get going on
Right.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
good. So, I mean, anyway, all your inspections are done by the end of the week, I believe. We just changed a 3-foot by 40-foot drain pipe on Tower Hill. It was metal, old, and it had to be changed, and we got it done in a few hours.
Across the road or?
Yeah, across the road. Yep. Installed some catch basins, one on Stanford and Woodstock. You may notice in your budget as you're perusing through that there's a large sum of money in the CHIPS, almost 3 times as much, Lois, maybe. So we put in last year. That's because we intend to tackle possibly South Road, maybe Oak Summit next year and blacktop it. If something happens on that bridge, I'll stop right short of it.
Yep.
But
Good.
we'll see.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, that's a big number in there, but it is CHIPS money. And it is, we do get reimbursed for using it. So. About it. We're finished grading. Filled the shed the last 100 tons and winter's coming.
Let us know.
There we go. Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
So the new truck is down at your shop?
It is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Come down, take a
It's
look.
all plated and everything?
The plates came in and they were marked Delaware County, so they went back. I have a temporary plate on it.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for the new one.
Is this one got a dump on it?
Oh, yeah.
I could use a little film, maybe. Take it for a
Little
test
test
drive.
drive. Okay.
Geez.
Any questions?
No, thanks, Joe.
Thanks,
Thank you
Joe.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Yep. So you'll,
I will.
You'll get in
I'll
touch
contact
with
him
him?
tomorrow.
okay,
Yep.
appreciate it.
So while you're here, Joe, I just wanted to talk about Colliers. They should have sent you an email. It's the draft of the report.
Do not have it.
Okay.
It's in your email tonight.
They sent it after hours
Well,
tonight.
they probably
Yeah.
sent it to the
And
highway department.
they sent it to Kathleen,
Yeah,
to Gary, Mary, and myself.
okay.
So that's in. And then 8 copies, hard copies of the report are going in the mail tomorrow. They should be here Monday or Tuesday.
Great.
Okay?
Maybe you can let us know when they're here, Mary.
I emailed 3 of you
Oh,
that haven't received, I just emailed it to you too right now, Joe.
Okay,
oh,
thanks.
great.
The report, and then we'll get you the hard copies, but it's
Mhm.
245 pages of the
Right.
report.
You just want to probably print out the first section of it. to
You don't
read it.
even have to if we're gonna get the hard copy.
Yeah. And, but the rest of it, don't bother printing it because it's all.
So are they gonna come, they were gonna
So-
come to
Okay, so yes, to further discuss
Yeah.
that, you're right, Leslie, thank you for reminding me. After we all read the report and, decipher it, they request that we set up a meeting with them, and they will come down here and we will meet and discuss the report, discuss their findings, discuss the next move. So hopefully we can get that on the schedule pretty soon. Okay,
Good.
Excellent.
Do they want it, will they come to an evening meeting?
yes,
Okay.
yep.
Do you want to schedule that now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, how long is it going to take everybody to read the report? Maybe, well, I suppose we could schedule it and then everybody read the report by the time we we could do that.
Do you want to do it at a separate meeting or at the December meeting?
I think it'd probably be a separate meeting because it's probably going to be a lengthy conversation.
Okay.
If it's that big a document, and they're going to get into detail, remember when we did the interview
Yeah.
with all of the companies, it took a couple hours.
Yeah,
But this shouldn't take a couple hours, but I think a separate meeting on that.
fine with me.
Mhm.
I will be in touch with everyone for dates then.
Okay,
Great.
Thanks.
all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome, John.
Thanks, Jim. Did we close the public hearing on community development block grant?
Yes.
We did do that.
Yeah.
But not the budget.
Not the budget. So Joe, did you want to give your report?
Yeah, sure. To continue on, Deirdre Houston, she is in budget time right now, so she has nothing new to report from the county. We spoke about Colliers. Now, the comp plan review, I want to take up Leslie's suggestion that we meet with Buffy Arbogast because she was on the comp plan review committee. And as per Nan, in due diligence with her suggestion, that we review the report with the village. And so next Wednesday is slated for us to meet with Buffy and go over any issues that the village might have, or we might have with the village or whatnot, or just to make the village aware of what we are doing. We're trying to get a public hearing in place for this. So again, next Wednesday we'll meet with them.
It's terrific.
So Tribute Garden will be giving us an additional $30,000 to go towards the fees for Nan and her consulting.
That's great.
Very nice.
Okay.
Wow.
So we definitely want to thank the Tribute Garden for that.
Sure.
And very, very, very grateful.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say.
That's really terrific.
Good.
Thank you for getting
Yeah, I was
that.
going to say thank you, Joe, for
No problem.
making that
No problem.
happen.
Thanks for your report.
You're welcome.
Danielle, did you want to go over your report?
I had my rec commission meeting last night, monthly meeting, and we talked about that there's an open seat on the commission, and we talked over some suggestions, and we're open to suggestions. I think that's gonna be posted
Yeah.
soon.
Should you come closer to the mic,
Yeah, why don't
maybe?
you-
Danielle, why don't you come up here and talk a little louder so we can get you on the mic?
On the mic, yeah, in case people,
Whether you want to or not.
yeah.
We had our Halloween candy collection, which we've collected 80 pounds of candy, which I delivered the day before Halloween, which
Amazing.
is a wonderful thing that we collected that, which has inspired our food drive that we just started this week. So hopefully we can get a lot of food that we can bring to Lyle Church for the food drive for
Yeah.
Millbrook. It'll stay local. It won't go anywhere quite
How
yet.
how do we know about that? Is it on the website or just,
I've sent out email blasts
oh, okay,
on it.
It will be on the website too on Monday.
okay.
Soccer has received their sponsorship check from Ruby's Chevrolet. Thank goodness. It was $1,000 check, and the money is going to go towards replacing new nets and equipment.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we're very excited about that and thankful. Trunk or treating had 12 cars that handed out candy, and it had a great turnout. And not only did the kids have a great time trunk or treating, but they loved being at the playground, and they left after the event was even scheduled for, so that's great. Upcoming events are basketball. We have 43 registrants so far. Late fees begin on December 2nd. We have a candle making class on, it's actually 11/16 in the gym. There's 18 people registered. It was originally open for 15 people, but more people asked for it, so.
That's so great.
Our gingerbread houses are, we're going to open it up to the firehouse so that people can go and make them there if they want, and we're going to have a contest. We're gonna have 3 different prizes for most traditional, most unique, and best theme. And we're gonna have Santa and Mrs. Claus this year.
Do you
We
need
started-
any volunteers for that?
No.
I was gonna ask,
No.
who are you gonna recruit?
Santa's coming with his wife.
Okay,
It's gonna be great.
okay,
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Because I've had to recruit people for that and other things, and sometimes people find it offensive when you
There's
ask
even
them
a
to be
backup.
Santa. Yeah. Yep.
We're starting tonight a ladies pickup basketball program. It just started at 6 over at the gym. The park. We had a phone call from somebody about concerns of people being there late at night, early in the morning, making noise. The troopers did show up there
at the soccer field.
at the soccer field.
Yeah, this was a follow-up incident to the one where we filmed on our cameras, the gentleman coming in after hours and accessing the pool area. It's now escalated to where they're going up there and actually using the track after midnight, sometimes 2 a.m. in the morning. Noise, cars having their lights on facing out, which means the people across the street are being affected by it. Troopers did go up. There was a gentleman questioned, 20-year-old somehow.
Poughkeepsie resident.
But last night we discussed, there is a swing arm gate on that entryway up there. And the consensus last night, let's start closing that and locking it, and then basically sunrise to sunset kind of monitoring it for a while. The lower gate to the pool area and the big rec area is always locked, but this has always been easy access. In fact, yesterday I went out to do some work. There were actually people down in the swim area, park area, who had parked up to the top and walked down, but it was during the daytime, so that's fine. But after hours, 2 a.m., inappropriate. When the first incident had occurred, I had made a call to the state police. They called me back. Gentleman down the street from me is the trooper that called me. He said they would keep an eye on it, and obviously with the second complaint, they were able to speak to someone that was inappropriately using the spot. But it was the music, the lights, they shouldn't be on there. And you don't know what's going to happen. It could become a hangout, it could be a party place. You don't want that. So the armature down at the bottom of the soccer entrance to the soccer field can be closed, it can be locked,
Yeah.
and Danielle's going to monitor it.
Do we have to let the fire department know about the lock combination on that in case something
I
happens?
think they might have it, do a follow-up call to the chief and just give them those
It's a
code
great
I would
numbers.
definitely
And
think so.
highway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Porta potties. So I checked on when porta potties were taken off of the park in the past. And in 2020, it was taken off at the end of November. And in 2021, it was taken off in January of this year. So we'll just wait on that until the weather starts getting
A little
bad.
colder,
Yeah, and then we'll pull it. That's good.
people are still using the park,
They are,
yeah.
they're walking
using
the
It's so
track.
nice out. I mean, it's
Yeah, there's
great.
somebody up there this
Especially
afternoon.
senior citizens have been
Yeah.
using it.
One last thing about Veterans Day, to all veterans of all branches, thank you for your sacrifice, your bravery, and the example you set for all. In short, thank you for your service.
Just to add to that, the ceremony was supposed to be at the Village Green tomorrow at 11 o'clock, but they've moved it to inside the firehouse in the meeting room upstairs at 11 because of suspected rain. Thanks, Danielle.
Tomorrow or Saturday? Saturday or tomorrow?
Tomorrow. 11, 11, 11. Always remember that. That's how you remember it.
All right, today's the 10th. I'm thinking tomorrow's the 10th. I'm sorry.
It's every year it's like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay. Let's see, moving right along here. Okay, Bob, you want to go over your report?
Do we have the contract to sign from Livingston?
I think he said he was waiting on the packet. He just sent an email saying he was waiting to get
Oh,
the
yeah.
packet from, he sent it
Yes.
later in the day, like,
You preferred to get the packet from Livingston first and submit it to the village for,
before
Yes,
we pass a
that was
resolution.
in
we do
his
that. And I
email.
think he hasn't gotten it yet.
Exactly. That
It
was
was
in his
emailed
email.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to discuss that?
Submit to the
What you
village?
told me about it? comments about?
Yes, because I it's, can it's town say property, that but
You
it,
want to mention it?
but it's within the village
We need to get a permit.
boundaries, and so there's a permit has
Oh,
to
they
be
want a permit
issued
for the- okay.
from the village.
For the construction.
So he wants to run it by you first. Livingston, I think, does as part of their process before we sign off on it. There's just that one step.
And just to follow up, I talked to Joe when we're all set to go. We'll get Joe and Coca-Cola together and figure out how we're gonna, I mean, we know exactly where we're gonna put them. And we'll figure out maybe what the first year, maybe we'll just put some item 4 down in those parking spaces. And this way Joe can see how he can plow it and stuff like that. And then maybe in the spring, we can blacktop it. Because Livingston, I met the engineer from Upstate Electric. He came down, took the numbers off the poles, called Central Hudson while we were standing in the front yard here, and got the guy from Central Hudson. They were going to come out the following day and look the site over and recommend what pole to use. And then, but whatever pole they use, it'll be no problem. It'll go, the power will go under the sidewalk and then to the area. Sounds pretty simple. I don't know. It doesn't sound like they've done this a million times, so.
Did you still, I think we talked about it at the last meeting, maybe us talking in the Millbrook Business Association about would they want to help beautify it?
Right,
Do you want us to talk to Buffy about that when we're, because I think she's the new president.
Might not be a bad idea. I
Yeah,
just,
or mention it to her when we meet with her about the.
Right, I thought we'd wait till we,
Okay.
got
Oh, okay,
everything
well, we
going,
can-
but no, that's
Okay.
that's a very good thing. She can bring it up at the next
Okay.
meeting. Sure, thank you. That'd be great. Just the closing of the park, I spoke to Louis Spagnola on Tuesday, and he said he would definitely get up there. He's gonna call me when they go up to drain the water system, which should be between now and hopefully early next week. And I'm gonna go up and take notes, so we know where everything is.
Yes.
Good idea.
Yeah, and he's fine with that. I told him, we're gonna have to get, somebody in the future, and we might as well know where everything is. And so he was fine on that. So that's the closing of the Parker Pool. Mike and I talked last year, we had trouble with the chlorine coming out because there was dead mice in the pipes and things like that. So we're gonna go up, I'm gonna go up and bag put some plastic bags, garbage bags over the places where rodents can get in and spend the winter, I guess.
Yeah.
And
It's like a habit trail, it sounds
Yeah,
like. They've got
yeah. I don't know why a mouse would want to go into a chlorine pipe, but I guess when it's drained and flushed out, it's pretty good, cozy in there, I guess. I spoke to Pat from Reardon Briggs on Kubota for the rec department, and he was gonna try to get back to me this afternoon after he called the plant yesterday. They didn't get back to him. They're researching it. They did put a second shift on. They have more materials to build them now, so we should have it, hopefully, with no problem, he said, by beginning of the next season. I told him if we don't get a date on it, that we're gonna have to look around, because we just can't. The last golf cart died right at the end of the season, so we have nothing for lifeguards and things like that. So that's that. I did also mention to him that we may want to get reimbursed because we paid for it. We must have done it accidentally, thinking that it was going to be here soon. And it's been over a year. So, and now you can actually put some money somewhere and get a little interest on it. So
Yeah, really.
depending on what he says when he calls me, I'll have him refund the money for now. We'll keep our slot open and see what happens from there. I have the report from the the county went through all our buildings. I have it here somewhere. Oh, and it's a kind of a repeat of a lot of things. I mean, and there's some things. There was a regular lady that did it the last couple of years, had a new person with him, really nice guy, and he's going to be doing them in the future. But you know, the door that's outside the stairs that go to the basement, that's been there for at least 5 years. They've looked at it for 5 years and said nothing about it, and now they say it has to have an automatic closer on it. So things change. These exit lights, the backups on all of them are battery powered, and they're old, and the batteries only last about a year. And this guy actually sent me, I should bring it down and give a copy to everybody, but he brought down the new LED ones are not real expensive, he said, and the batteries last 5 to 7 years. The backup batteries. So there's an emergency. So some of them work, some of them don't work. I replaced a whole bunch of batteries last year, and they weren't real expensive, but they're a pain to take the thing all apart and put them in and stuff. So we'll take a look at replacing those. They said there was another hole in the wall in the basement, probably where the red squirrel came in, but they said it was on the west wall, but it's actually on the north wall. And I went to Verdon Briggs today, and I got some, because that houses a lot of the lines that go to the air conditioners and stuff, I'm not gonna seal them with special sealer, but what works best to keep the rodents out is actually steel wool. Stuff the steel wool in there, and they won't touch it. So I'll get that done. It's just a minor thing, and all the other stuff is just minor stuff. The fire extinguishers were inspected. We called on that, took care of it. I told Lois that they're going to schedule it shortly.
Okay.
And do this building in the highway garage, and when the time comes for them to do up at the park, there's only a few up there. I'll let them in. They're going to call me. I'll talk to the guy Jeff there. Little minor things at the highway garage, all easy stuff. Relocate something upstairs. There's a refrigerator and a toaster plugged in the same outlet, and we have to move those, so that's not a big deal. So we'll take care of this list pretty quick, and if these exit lights, if we can get them relatively inexpensive, it'll be a very minor expense, I think. I think that's it. Let's see what else I have.
You already did the roof.
Yeah, I talked about the roof.
Good.
That's it.
Good. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. Mike?
Yeah, the short-term rental committee has been formed and recruited and formed. John Parisi has volunteered to work. Richard Phillips, Bob, and I, with legal assistance from Jeff. I also have some people who periodically will be called in to assist us when we go through the process. Now that the committee's organized, we have the materials that we've been collecting the last 2 years. We'll try and schedule a meeting within the next couple of weeks. One of the members is out of town, needs to come back into town, and once they're here, we'll have the meeting. So we'll move forward on trying to put together some coding recommendations for the town for short-term rentals. And I've been approached on the street, in the market, what are we doing about short-term rentals? I don't think anybody here is against short-term rentals. What we need to do, as all communities are doing, is just get some rules, regulations, guidance into our codes so that people who wish to go into that type of business are doing it with proper authority from the town. We're also following strict guidelines on how to operate, not only for the safety of the guests who will be coming into town, but their own safety. And also the consideration of the neighborhoods. So that will be the mission of that committee. So we'll be working on that quickly. I don't think it's going to take a lot of meetings, but we should have something by at least the first quarter of '23 to present to this board and to eventually to the code. Board of Ethics met this past Monday to do a discussion on how to go about training. I have, as a side issue, I met with all of the various boards that are currently in session to give out that material that we received on ethical conduct of planning boards, zoning boards, and any organizations that are affiliated with them, such as CAC. At those meetings, I asked each of the chairpersons if it would be possible to push their meetings a half hour earlier so that the ethics training could occur the evening or the afternoon that their meetings take place, just so it's not eating into their time or having to call special other meetings. And they all said they would be very interested in doing that. I spoke to Mary. Usually when we do training of employees in this building, highway department, and so on, we schedule an afternoon like we do with the sexual harassment training. That's an annual presentation. We'll hold it here. Anybody that can't make those other meetings can come to that meeting. But Pam would like, she's the chairman of that committee. She'd like to get it started as quickly as possible after the holidays, and that will be on the books.
That's
But
great.
now that we got notification from the state that it's official, we can move forward.
Right.
That's excellent.
That's my report.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Mary, did you want to comment on
Oh, yeah, I've been hearing some squeaking from the neighbors regarding the parking out front, and they're not necessarily happy about the location. So we, I said to them, contact board members and come to the next meeting if they have concerns. So,
For the electric charging station?
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, don't necessarily like the idea of 4 parking spots in front of the building, either possibly in the back of the building or located somewhere else. So, it's up to you folks to determine how you want to proceed with that, but.
What do they have against, what reason do they give a reason?
Some of the concerns were they don't necessarily like the way it might look, number one. Also, people, it might be people who've been here a long time who are near the building. Their visibility from their homes, looking out at it, might not be what they necessarily want to see.
Mhm. Okay.
That more than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So maybe we should have a better beautification plan.
Well, we can talk to Buffy on
Yeah.
Wednesday, see if we can get some hedges in there or something.
Yeah, because, as a municipality, I don't think we're doing a site plan review or anything like that, so,
Yeah, I'll just comment about that. First of all, those spaces will probably be empty 99% of the time, the way I see it. People that have electric cars usually have the ability to charge them at home, so local owners won't utilize a pay station. The only people that would use a pay station is people in transit or people visiting or people who are shopping and need a quick little charge, so that the cars would be there only for a short period of time. It also does give us 4 more spaces on meeting nights if we have a big crowd, instead of parking in the street. Gives us 4 more spaces. And we plan to buffer it. It's not going to be buffered from Johnny Hay next door, but he's got lots of trees, bushes on that side of his house, and his house is quite a distance from the town hall driveway. But I don't see where it's going to be an issue. But if you could forward those people's names to me, I'll be glad to give them a call. Talk to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Leslie, you have a
Okay.
lot to go over here.
Everyone ready?
Unpack
Want to
that.
stretch or anything? Deep breath.
Yep.
Just see what we're going to start with. So I'll start with my reports on the ZBA meeting and planning board meeting and CAC meeting. The ZBA met on October 18th. They had 3 items on their agenda. The first was a variance for a pool on Oak Summit. It was a very straightforward application. The ZBA was comfortable with the survey that they provided. It was a type 2 action, so there's no seeker required. And it was a request for a front yard setback for the pool, and it was approved unanimously. The second application was also for a variance for another pool on Stamford Road. There were questions about the location of the water line, the propane tank, and the well. And a representative from the pool company was here presenting the plan. They didn't have answers to those questions, so they asked them to come back next month with a plan and answers to all of those questions regarding the locations of those different items. The last item was an interpretation. It was a request from the CAC regarding asking for the ZBA to interpret a decision by the planning board regarding a wetlands permit on the Wolf Clark application. Chairman Parisi asked Sarah Wilson to provide a written opinion regarding that planning board's decision. And Sarah opined, and I circulated that letter to all of you, that the planning board's interpretation of the code was in fact correct. The homeowner was not changing the use of the property. It was a question over whether it was a non-conforming use or non-conforming structure, and section 391 of the code did not apply. I know Howard is here and has strong opinions about that, and I know Sarah's here as well. Sarah, letter, as I mentioned, you all have a copy of that, and that discussion is in the minutes from that meeting. If you want to delve further into that, also anyone in the public.
Just a very minor comment.
Yeah.
Maybe that section of code needs to be reviewed to update the intent of the zoning code. It applies to wetlands and so on. So maybe the code is ambiguous and it needs to be perhaps straightened out.
Yeah,
a
so
little
one
bit
of the
more.
things, Howard, in my report on the CAC meeting, I was going to mention that actually Sarah and I have circled back about that, and I did actually later today send an email to the town board just flagging that there is some lack of clarity in the code right now when the term non-conforming is used. It doesn't always apply to whether it's a structure or to a use. It's a very easy thing for us to fix. We just probably want to provide some more clarity on that, so that
That's all I'm saying.
so that there's
Maybe
a
that
clear,
needs to be-
it's clear for the boards that are looking at the code and trying to interpret the code for these applications. Right, Sarah? Anything else we want to add to that?
No, I would agree. It comes down to definitions, and I completely understand the CAC's viewpoint. It is a challenging section. The time it took our office to go through it and really piece it together just tells you how complicated it was, because it was not a simple task. And it comes down to like the definition of nonconformity versus nonconforming use versus nonconforming structure. And when all of those have different parameters, it really becomes quite nuanced. So I think that 391.7 is pertinent and will be applicable, but I think clarity is necessary. It shouldn't be that challenging for people applying for the CAC for your legal staff, so I agree with Leslie. A cleanup would be.
So that's one of those items when we open the code, just things that little, things that we can do just to make it more clear, just easier for everybody to interpret. So, so that was it for the ZBA, and then the planning board met last Tuesday, and they had a very full agenda. First application was a public hearing on the Johnson Estate. That's 500 acres along Andrew Haight that's being divided into 7 lots. There were several neighbors here in person with questions about building and wetlands and the environment. And there were other neighbors that were present on Zoom. Because there's no building being proposed at this time, this is just property being divided into 7 lots for estate purposes. There was really no need to have questions about those issues at this time. If anything comes up, if someone applies for a building permit and it's a straightforward building application, James will issue the permit. If there is an issue around wetlands or a special use or anything else, it would come back to the planning board, and that would be the appropriate time for the public to expressed concerns. But that was a good conversation, and the subdivision was approved, so that's that. The Kiernan application, which is the old Stagecoach Deli, they had some outstanding violations, which they've since cleared, and their legal counsel was here, again, for a special use permit designating that as a commercial space. They had to provide a site plan with a certain number of parking spaces, and I guess they needed to have 11 spaces for the number of residents they have upstairs and the number of people that they have working in the office. Currently, there's a dumpster there, and part of the parking lot is not really laid out or set up for parking spaces at this time. So the special use permit is contingent on them removing the dumpster and actually making those areas designated parking spaces. So James will follow up, but that special use permit was approved. The third was the Quilla Farms application on Burbank Road, special use permit and site plan approval for a cottage. It was very straightforward. They opened a public hearing. There was no one here to comment, and it was approved. It was very straightforward. The next was a workshop application for the DLC. This is for them, assuming the Perkins property, Walbridge Farm, for an education and research center. They were here getting for feedback on a special use permit and site plan approval for some additional parking spots and some improvements, some ADA improvements to their bathroom. Any new parking would be screened from the road. There was some questions about their sign. They have a sign to be the same sign that they have currently in front of their building on 343. So again, just a workshop meeting. They're coming back for a public hearing in December. Upton Lake was an application. That's the Upton Lake High School. They're looking to add a building and a parking lot. It was just a workshop meeting for them. They don't intend to increase the size of the school. It's just, I guess, one building is older. They want to build a new one, and so they're going to come back with more specifics in December. That's it for the planning board. The CAC met last weekend. Howard, who had been president of the Planning and Zoning Board, provided an update on sort of the applications that I just reviewed with all of you just now. And he did also discuss the ZBA's interpretation on the planning board decision that we just talked about regarding Wolf Clark. And then, as we just discussed as well, I was going to mention the fact that we might want to clear up some of that ambiguity in the code, which I think is a great idea. Margaret Schneibel, chair of the CAC, and I provided the CAC with an update on the CSC task force and our application, our joint application for an NRI with the village and Clinton, which I will roll into right now, about the CSC. So you all remember in March we passed the resolution to be a climate smart community.
Yeah.
In order for us to start accumulating points and to become certified, we have to establish a task force and a task force coordinator. We get like 20 points for the task force and, I don't know, 15 or something for the coordinator. And we can't begin doing anything else until we do those first two steps. So I have agreed to be the coordinator, which essentially means that I would serve as kind of the manager, if you will, of the CSC, setting up meetings, taking minutes, and then uploading any of our resolutions that we need to the DEC's portal so we can get credit for those initiatives. As for the task force itself, several residents have volunteered to participate. They've reached out to Margaret through the CAC, and then Margaret and I discussed them. We ran the list by Gary, and then I circulated that to all of you by email. Richard Phillips. Richard's going to be very busy this year, but he's retired, and Wendy wants to keep him busy, so this is terrific. He'll be a great addition. Adelaide Camillo, Elizabeth Bellin, and Colleen Howland, along with me and Margaret. And Pam Scott will sit in as needed as liaison with the CAC, and Shanna Madhu is on the town CAC, and she's on the village's CSC. Will serve as the village's liaison, so we can just make sure all of our efforts are coordinated. In order for us to formally form this task force and assign myself as coordinator, we just need a resolution, which Mary, by the way, huge shout out to Mary, thanking her for organizing all of these, resolutions for this month's meeting. But It should be in your packet.
I did expand on what you had.
Okay, no, I saw
Yours?
that, yeah. And Mary also, which makes great sense, assigned terms to everybody so that it would be staggered and sort of guidelines for what it means. If you want to take a minute to look through it, if you haven't had a chance. And some of these are, they're sort of broad parameters from the state about what we need to do, and we need to meet at least twice a year. We need to have at least 3 members.
So you meet in twice a year?
Well, at
Is that
least
right?
twice, at least twice. I think our plan is to meet quarterly, and I'll talk about sort of next steps next, which is, I guess I can jump to that while you all are reading this.
So this will be beginning in 2023, is that the idea?
We'll have to file the resolutions with the DEC, and then we'll be formally formed. And then what we did, so in reaching out to the DEC, there's a woman called Eleanor Peck that sort of helps oversee this program and the clean energy program for the state. She recommended that we reach out to Cornell, and she connected us with them because they provide a myriad, and actually Kelsey West, who's from Cornell, joined the Zoom earlier. I texted her and emailed her and said, you don't need to, she's available if we had questions, but I said, it's going to be a long meeting. We can get back to her if she, but Cornell provides to towns, and they've already done this exercise with the village, free services to help them facilitate their climate smart, not just their task forces, but really the priorities. And so I printed this out for all of you, copies here, but this is what I sent around. I got one from Mary and Bob too, but so one that I think that I recommend that we start with is the Climate Smart Communities Assessment. They will come and facilitate a discussion with the town board and with the CSC task force. They'll go over all of the different action steps that the town can take, the CSC can take to get points. They're everything from installing electric charging stations to doing an energy audit, and there are certain contractors that do that.
Didn't they come and tell us that in the beginning when they were?
Yeah, I mean, Pace, did Pace do that? Or did?
Refresh my memory. Was it Pace that came in?
Well, no, I don't know if Pace talked about that, but no, I don't think we've had anybody from, you mean me talking about it last week? Last meeting?
No, in the very beginning when we were discussing this, to get on it, and then we.
Oh, you mean, did Pam Scott go over it, like from the CAC?
No, never mind.
Yeah, no, but, maybe Cornell talked about it.
Yes.
So they will come and they'll basically show us, here's the list of 12 things or 15 things that you can do.
Yes.
What are your priorities? And actually, so that's one thing, and I thought that'd be a great discussion for all of us to have to say. That way, the town board is helping to set the agenda for the CSC. We only are working on the initiatives that the town prioritizes for 2023. We want to do an energy audit. We want to look at, energy uses in our buildings, which might make sense if we're doing stuff, for example, at the rec building or whatever it is. We'll kind of look and see how we prioritize.
It was Pam Scott.
It was Pam Scott, yep. So but having them come do that for us, it's sort of like the PACE exercise. They'll come once, they'll ask us all what we think, they'll show us, there's this great portal that they'll walk you through and say, okay, if you want to do a carbon audit, or you want to do composting, or you want to just riffing on the different things, but there's a bunch of different things we can do, and we'll decide what those things are, and then that way, and approve them, everyone knows what's taking place, and we agree that the town government agrees that these are the priorities that we want to work on for 2023.
LED lights.
LED lights are another one, right? And then the 2 other things that they offer, and I'm not asking for a resolution on these 2 right now because I just felt like there's so much here. I didn't want to kind of go through all of them tonight. But the second is to evaluate policies for climate resilience, climate smart resiliency planning tools. So it has more to do with with planning and our code and, they'll do, it's sort of like emergency planning for flooding. That's another free facilitated discussion that they offer. And the third, which is sort of interesting, and maybe this dovetails with the grant that we were talking about regarding the bridge on Oak Summit, but they will come and they will work with us to do a culvert and dam road stream crossing management plan. They look at all of our roads and say, okay, here's a risky area, you need to do this.
Yeah,
This is,
we
and
have a
they'll
lot
do
of
this
dam-
for
we have a
us
lot
for
of
free.
dams, yeah.
So, they talk about beavers. I mean, this was on the call of the Galaxy, so this might be one we want to, I have a letter resolution from them that we could adopt, in December, for example, if we wanted to. I didn't want to throw all these items at you all at once, but I thought a great place to start, for example, is the assessment as kind of a level set. Here's all the opportunities. How do we all feel about them? What do we think makes sense for us to do first? But you all have these. We can look at them, talk about it, and then the road piece. I just saw that email today about that grant opportunity. That might be something, as I just said, that we might want to have rise to the top. So we can talk about that maybe in December. So I'd like to make a motion then to pass the resolution appointing me as the task force coordinator for the Climate Smart Community Task Force and appointing the Climate Smart Community Task Force.
So I'll make that.
So move.
Bob, second.
I'll second.
Joe, second.
Sure.
Question, the number of committee members, was that just a recommendation size
So,
or was that
no.
arbitrary?
It's 3 to 5. So we have 5. We have 5, and then Pam and Shannon are not official members.
Oh, okay.
They are just
So I-
liaisons
yeah, I
that
thought
are
it
going
was
And I
to.
saw you break down in terms, which is good.
Yeah, that was
5
actually Mary, which is
years.
terrific.
That's a long time.
You're okay with it?
Yeah, I'm
You're
fine.
agreed to it? You're in
Yeah.
favor and Bob's in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yes.
Great.
It's a
Thank you.
long time. That's a long term.
The term I did just alphabetically. I listed people
Yeah.
alphabetically and did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
Yeah.
it's not any science behind that.
Right.
I think it's just a stagger if people are rotating off, and we can, I mean, it really, the task force remains for as long as,
You're here.
it's a priority,
Yeah,
right? I mean, they're
right.
going to continue to evolve, and the other thing too, I'll just mention that, many of these, Richard's in the planning board, some of the people are just on the CSC, and then as I mentioned, there's people who are on the CAC, and we will be engaging the CAC, as needed or as their interest evolves, depending on what projects we all decide with this task force are good things for us to focus on for 2023. Next thing, the natural resource inventory. So again, this is all happening because these grants, they send out these emails with these grants. So it's sort of like the road thing, right? It's just sort of, as it comes, we're, kind of responding in reaction to that. But the DEC announced a grant for a joint NRI for 2 municipalities. We reached out to them to get clarification on whether or not the village would qualify as a separate municipality since it's within the town of Washington. They said it absolutely would, but they recommended to strengthen our application that we get even another municipality. The town of Clinton reached out to us. In order to qualify, you also have to be part of the Hudson River Estuary, which Clinton is. Stanford also is. Stanford would have been a great partner for us too. They actually just got their own funding to do their own separate NRI, so it wouldn't make sense for them to participate. But we've gotten approval, or I don't know, Tim, if the village, did you pass your resolution?
We submitted our portion of the questionnaire to you, the town. And
Yes, no, we've
Clinton,
got, yes.
So you can
it's true.
combine it, make one application.
Yeah, no, we got that, and that's
Okay.
terrific. But I've also, so I should also mention, there are 3 people that will be officially part of the task force for the town, which is me and Margaret Schneibel and Richard Phillips. Then there are 3 people for the village, which is Genevieve Glasson, who is the chair of the village's CSC, and then Shannon Ledoux and Peter, excuse me that I forget his last name. He is a scientist. What is it? I'm sorry?
Peter Groffman for IES.
Yes, he's a scientist.
Groffman.
Groffman, yep.
Yeah, those are at the.
And then Clinton has provided us with 3 people to represent the town of Clinton. We're all together on the application. The village filled out the application. Clinton has given us some feedback, and Mary, again, who's been amazing, and Margaret and I sat down and worked on the application this week. So we are going to send it. There's a man, his last name is going to escape me, who works with Dutchess County Planning, who's been very supportive of us throughout this application, and is going to take a look at it for us before we submit it to the DEC. So because we have a pretty, they really like the idea that it's the village within the town. That's exactly how Rhinebeck did it. They did it last year. They got the grant, Rhinebeck and Hyde Park. So we're very hopeful. Again, the DEC is going to be providing us with technical support, looking through all of our maps, and then they'll rely on us to help fill in the gaps with historical background and information about different reports that we've done. For example, Hudsonia and stuff like that will help to supplement it.
I have a question, Elizabeth.
Yes.
NRI stands for Natural Resource Inventory,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
When the CAC was formed in this town years and years ago,
Yeah.
they had a charter. Part of their charter was to keep accurate records of the natural resources in the town.
Yes. Yeah.
So has that failed, or are those missing, or what
No,
is the
so-
purpose in this particular project and the need for grant money if that was to be accumulated year after year after year? That was part of their charter.
Yeah. So there's a real technical expertise in looking at the maps, from what I understand.
So it's mostly maps?
It's maps. So
okay.
So what the DEC is providing us with is coming in and saying, hey, this is what you need to look at looking at your maps. And we have now some great updated maps from NAN. There might be so there's a man by the name of Michael Clemens who's coming to talk to the CAC, because you're right, that is part of their charter, in addition to making sure that our maps are updated. So one of the things that I've asked Margaret Schneibel to do and have her committee focus on is looking at all of our maps and making sure that we, the town, has the most updated maps on our website and accessible to our boards.
So this grant money will help clarify and upgrade all the mapping system that
So
we
Margaret's
use.
going to look at it herself,
Yeah.
right, with the CAC, not on her own, but the CAC is going to be looking at those maps so that we have updated ones, but we're going to give them then to the DEC, and they're going to say, okay, you're missing this, you need to supplement this. For example, Hudsonia did a habitat study, right, and it's 20 years old. So I had heard that Stanford, they're doing their NRI, contacted Hudsonia to do an update on there. So I contacted Gretchen Stevens, who works at Hudsonia, who did our habitat study 20 years ago. And I said, we're doing a joint NRI application. If we get the NRI, do you suggest that we have to have supplemental, studies to back up, whatever these maps are showing, right? Because and she said, actually, your habitat doesn't change that dramatically over 20 years. She said, however, there are certain things that will change it. For example, if someone doesn't mow their field, right? That field then becomes a habitat. It goes from
Or storm
meadow
directs
to
a
a
stream
shrub.
and things like that.
She said if there's new development, like
Right.
there's a new house or something, she said we can go look at those areas
Right.
and do an update for
Or
you.
if somebody fills their field up with solar panels.
Right, or something like that. I'm sure solar might be another thing. I don't know. She sort of gave me a 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
And she told me what it would cost, what the quote is for Stanford to update theirs. We should probably, look into, and I'm going to wait, I think we should wait to see what DEC says to us, right? That's part of what they're going to say, and their technical support is you need to do these things, is getting a hydrogeologist because, the flow of water has changed, we had a drought this summer, I don't know. So that's another thing that she said is something. But that's part of what the DEC will say is, okay, guys, here's your maps. You've got great maps. You need to get a new map here, and maybe you need to do a study here or a study here. I don't know all the studies they might recommend. And, we don't have that in the budget for 2023, but maybe we'll, I don't know. So at least we'll just have a kind of a master plan.
Yeah.
And it's at no charge to us. So it just made sense to kind of try to take advantage of that expertise. So that application is, again, pretty straightforward. Mary and Margaret and I have been working on that, and that is due also next Friday. So I would love a motion, or resolution, for a motion to allow us to submit the NRI
Sure.
application. And that resolution that's there is the standard resolution that was supplied by the DEC. That's what they've required all their municipalities that are applying to use that
So I'll
resolution.
make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And we'll find out about that in December, which is great because we can start in January with that process. We talked about sorry, I'm getting there. Okay. Last, I think that's it, Mary. Did I hit all those resolutions?
Yep.
We hit the resolutions. Did you just have a letter to the DEC? Libby Zamatis?
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
That is the letter. Did I make for Cornell? That's
Mhm.
to do so this is actually, so I sent Mary 3 different letters and they were all very confusing. That is actually not, this is the one for
Wrong one.
it's okay, but I printed, this one is for the community's assessment that I talked about, which would be, they want that affirmation from us that we would allow them to come and facilitate a discussion.
Is that
Doing
your letter or is
she sent 3 letters.
Is it this one?
Cornell. This is different. This
So I'm
one-
taking the one out that
The
was
short
in the
one.
agenda
Yes,
is
and the
coming out.
one
Okay.
the one on the agenda is coming out, and the
The
one that's
one
being
for Zamatis
circulated
is coming out.
loosely. They're all addressed to Zamatis. It's the one in the
Dated
packet is
November
coming
9th.
out. One of the packets coming out,
Yep.
and the one that's going in is for the Climate Smart Communities assessment. It's not for the policy one. It's for the assessment one. So
Okay.
this is the one, and
And that's,
we should give that to Mary probably
yeah.
for the.
I can just
And-
pull it from
and
you
here
right
you
now.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
If
or
anybody
I just went through the 3, and
This one's dated November 9th, one's dated November 10th, so we want
Yeah.
November 9th.
the November 9th one.
Ninth one.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, which one's that, Mary?
November 9th, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a letter inside on the table that I had printed out on your letterhead. Ignore that one. We're just gonna rip that one up and I'll replace it with this one Monday.
Okay, great. Did we make a motion about that yet or not? Should I need?
We need to
Okay.
authorize Gary to
Okay.
sign the letter.
Sign the letter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sign this letter? What is this letter?
It's the loose letter. It's,
Yeah.
it's basically saying that we all agree, or that Gary as supervisor is saying that we'll participate in this discussion with Cornell
I see.
for this assessment, which is
Okay.
essentially just to facilitate a conversation
Yeah.
about what we want to prioritize.
So what we
Among-
spoke about.
Yes,
Among the rest.
among the different initiatives that the
Yeah.
state sort of outlines for towns to do to get points to become certified, they'll help us they'll walk us through all those different options and have us discuss what we want to pursue.
Mhm. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Yeah, fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so last, planning board and zoning board updates. I don't know if I know Gary knows this, but Ed Jorgensen, after 12 years, has asked to rotate off, starting in 2023. He sent a resignation email to me and to Gary. He said he'd like to find a replacement no later than February of 2023, and he was stepping down as chair. With a very friendly, great conversation about it. He's just been doing it for a really long time. He said he's,
So wait, if he hasn't been chair for a very long time,
no, he's not been chair for a very long time.
but what's he been doing for being on the board?
Being on the
Yeah.
board,
So what does he want to do? He wants to be just removed as
he
chair?
wants to be off entirely.
Entirely.
He just,
He wants to, okay.
yes.
Retire.
He said he
Yeah,
wants to
does.
retire. It's
All
been
right.
12 years.
All
He
right,
feels like, he's said he was
Sorry,
happy to
service.
stay on.
all right.
So he, which is
He's been
Which-
valuable to
just-
that committee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good
So
guy.
we need
Yeah.
a new planning board member and chair.
Right, so
Sometime
Gary and
in
I talked
23.
about that, and we talked about asking Susan Meany, which I've done. She's
Mhm.
agreed to serve as chair, to assume the role,
Mhm.
and she'll start in January for
Okay.
planning board. Andrew Spence had said he was going to retire, so after getting Ed's resignation email, I called Andrew and said, what is your timing? Like, or when are you rotating off? He said, actually, the schedule's changed. It was a work, wife work schedule thing. He said he does not need to step down right now and is happy to continue. So at least we just have the one
Okay.
opening. We have, I believe, two, we actually don't have an alternate right now, but we have two applicants. We have the one that you received, you got someone last week, and then we have an applicant that Nicole Drury recommended last
Sent you that, didn't I,
year.
Eric? That one applicant. I think I
I
did.
think you did, but I think it might have been in that email that I lost the other day. So if you still have it, if you can resend it to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Mary's posted that opening for a bit. We've got two people. My recommendation would be we should interview them both and see if we think one is a good fit.
Sure.
If we think they're both good fits for something, we could perhaps see if one might want to serve on the ZBA. I don't know, or we could do a ZBA
Yeah.
posting as well.
But you still have the
Um,
alternate opening too.
Yeah, I don't think they've had an alternate all year. So yeah, we could
Because
do
remember we
that.
tried to build that in?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
oh, it was a quorum?
yeah.
I believe Nicole was the alternate and then she stepped in.
Okay. Oh, okay, that makes sense when
Yeah.
somebody rotated off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so that could work too, and then we could post the ZBA. When is Peter stepping? I know he's stepping down. Is it effective immediately?
Yeah, he's
He's
gone.
Yeah.
So maybe then we might want to think about that because they only have 4 people on their board now. They don't have, I mean, it's better to have an odd number, I guess.
Oh,
if
yeah.
there's a,
Mhm.
so anyway,
We can post for as
post
many
and then
applicants as
see,
we get.
yeah, and
Get-
see what
Pick up
happens.
3,
Yeah,
zoning, planning, and alternate.
yeah. So that's all.
Okay.
I mean,
Good.
17 hours later, that's all. And I think we should, Mary, do you do that, right? You reach out to see if we can set up interviews with, and if we do that, when do we do that?
Well, I know you're traveling later in the month. Is everyone available next week for evenings?
I cannot do, next week is Thanksgiving week, right?
No.
Oh, just next week. Oh, yeah, I
Next
can do
week,
next
yeah.
week, yeah.
Mhm.
So I was thinking the
Yeah.
week after, yeah.
Yeah, I'll push that too soon.
Yeah,
All right, so I'll see if I can get the interview scheduled for next week, and
Okay.
I'll let you all know.
okay. Because it'd be great as,
Maybe not Wednesday.
Okay.
as Mike is, thinking about scheduling these
Well, we have to make
trainings
sure
and
the
stuff, it'd be
applicants-
great to have everybody, trained and
Yeah.
off to the races, together in the same group, so we don't have to.
Do we know the two names? Is it 2 people?
I don't know them.
I don't have it in front of me. I know she lives on South Road, but I don't remember her name.
Do you?
Let's wait.
Yeah,
Let's
Gary
wait.
You
sent
know
it
what,
to
I might,
That's okay.
me, recognized her, hold on a
Makes no
second.
difference.
But both very qualified, both attorneys,
And you may pick up a couple more, who knows, now that things are calming down.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion possibly. I don't know if she's interested or not, but somebody for the Board of Ethics that I'll talk
Yeah,
to
we
you
need
about.
2 there. We need
Right.
2.
And,
Okay, good, great.
Yeah.
Emily Abrahams.
I know Emily,
You know her, you said,
yeah, from MECC, she's really
she's an attorney,
smart, yeah.
very impressive resume. So anyway,
I'll get in touch with him.
yeah. Thank you. Good report.
Oh,
A lot of work.
God.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I love grants, Gary.
I
I'm
know
very
you do.
excited about the
Wow.
grants. They just keep coming, these emails keep
Yeah.
coming. It's just, just,
Every time it comes in, I go, uh-oh, Leslie's gonna want to do this.
Next month, you may get a certificate.
I know. Thank you, Bob.
Mary too.
I know we're gonna have
Krista, too.
to have it accompanied by, like, I don't know, happy hour at Beaches or something.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so Tim, thanks for being patient. I know you want to address us over an issue.
Yeah, so there was a fire explosion at the firehouse last month. The closet next to, in the garage, next to the apparatus is where they have the cascade system that refills the oxygen and the air tanks, for both NDP and for the fire department. And there was a failure of the hoses, blew apart, small fire, put out pretty quickly, no serious damage, any personnel. But the vendor has said that the thing is over 20 years old, it should be replaced. And so the reason why I gave you a head up last week was because cost to replace is $69,000, which includes converting a lot of the air tanks that are there to using a compressor. So there'd be oxygen tanks and there'd be a compressor. The insurance recovery is going to be about $32,000. Turns out the $32,000 is enough for us to replace the cascade system, and we'll then delay the financing and installation of the compressor to later, out of this year's budget. So initially it's going to be a budget concern to me. Now it's not. We'll figure out how to fund it when we go into the next fiscal year budget.
Would that be, Tim, wouldn't that be a firehouse expense?
Yeah.
And the firehouse they probably have the funds for the difference of that?
The firehouse has a budget. The budget doesn't include that. This was an emergency situation, and we need to replace it, so we're going to do it. We're going to find a way to contain the current expenses in this year's budget, and we'll talk about the cost and funding of the compressor next fiscal year.
Jim, who was filling the,
NDP.
so Mary brought up a good point. Don't they have insurance to cover that?
The firehouse has insurance, so it was actually the firehouse equipment that failed,
But I mean,
and so it's their
they
insurance.
wouldn't have any liability?
I don't think so.
No?
No, we authorized them to use it. There was nothing wrong with the way it was being used. It's just a very old system, and
All
the
right,
thing failed.
for the minutes, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. There was a fire explosion at the firehouse
Explosion and cause of fire, yeah.
in the closet next to what?
Next to the garages to store the apparatus, the fire trucks.
Okay,
All right.
and it was an oxygen failure of,
So it was a failure of the lines going into the oxygen tank. What happens is, you have a tank you want to fill, you put it in this cascade system, close the cage.
wait, slow down, I just wanted right.
We're going to put a lot in there. Hook up to one of the available canisters that are there in the room and then fill it up. When she did it, the hoses failed, blew up.
She didn't get hurt.
But not much, a little bit. Yeah.
So the oxygen storage that you talked about,
The closet now has canisters.
you talked about air tanks
Yeah.
and a compressor.
Okay, so right now there's no compressor. You go into the closet, on the left side there's the oxygen tanks, on the right side there's the air tanks. Depending on what you're filling up, you hook the appropriate tank.
So,
It's the machine that
Compressor.
It's mainly, right now it's
Is
just
it
a
what-
cage that holds the tank, so if it does blow up, it doesn't.
right, but is it
Go across
I'm just trying to understand it in my head. Is it the oxygen tanks that the firefighters use when they go into a fire, or is it the oxygen tanks for, say, the rescue squad?
Both. Yeah. So they use both. I think this was actually an air tank, but I think they both use both air or oxygen.
So are we charged by NDP to provide this service?
Charged NDP, no. We provide the service for them to use it. We provide the service. NDP uses it to filter tanks when they want to.
Who fills up the tanks? How do they get filled? What's the vendor? Who's
The
vendor
vendor,
for
I don't
that?
know what it is, but the fire
Pardon
department
me?
takes care of that.
They take care of
Yeah.
that. So is it the vendor that filled up the tank?
If it was vendor error in filling up the
No,
tank,
no, no.
they
So,
would have.
It was a
vendor
hose
comes in
fill.
and fills up the tanks. The
Yeah.
tanks sit there.
Yeah.
All right. The user comes in with an empty tank, opens up the cage, puts the empty tank in there, hooks the hoses from.
So is this the rental, the tank itself?
I think they are rental, yeah.
So, okay, so what would be replaced then?
The replacement is not the tanks are fine.
Okay,
The replacement is the cage
the
that
cage.
the empty tank goes into, and the plumbing that goes, the tubing that connects the, the empty tank to the
So the,
tank sitting there in the
okay,
closet.
So
That's
Tim-
$64,000?
69,000 is to replace the cage and all the tubing and add a compressor that doesn't exist today. The advantage of adding a compressor is they can take out half the cans you're standing there with, and put in.
Tim, what caused the fire? I could see the oxygen exploded.
I don't know exactly
They
how it
don't know
happened.
what
Yeah.
caused the
Probably
fire.
the tank
There
hitting
was
the
a leak
cage.
that I heard or something.
Is that
Well,
right?
something's
I
got to
don't know.
ignite it.
Well, I said
There
the
was a
metal,
leak, but I don't
the
know.
tank hitting the cage might have.
Oh, probably
Yeah, it
sparked
could have
it.
been a spark,
Yeah.
or something like that, yeah. I don't know the specifics.
Okay.
So anyway, just heads up to you, initially it was a concern financially, now we got a plan to close and contain current
All
budget.
right, good.
Okay,
Good.
Second thing I want to bring to you is I asked last year if you wanted to take the metal detector that we have sitting upstairs in the village hall. And I think some guys looked at it, didn't take it. I, again, just talked to Jimmy Brownell. Are you guys interested in it? He says it wouldn't fit out here, so basically I'm going to sell it.
Good.
All right, so
Yeah,
just
sure.
know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So last chance that you want it.
That's fine.
Okay, good.
Anything else?
That's all.
Can you sell it if it was a grant from the state, from the judicial system?
I don't know.
Because we donated ours to a surrounding town.
No,
Um,
I'll see. I won't work too hard.
Okay. Anybody else? Howard, do you have anything? Dominique? No?
Just here
Sarah?
to observe,
What's that?
just here to observe.
Sarah?
No, so long as you will close the public hearing and adopt the budget, right?
Correct.
Right,
we're doing
yeah,
it.
Yeah,
we'll
that's-
do that
it's
shortly.
still on the list,
Yeah.
yep.
Danielle? Nothing, you're good? Okay. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Can I ask one question first?
Yeah.
What is this town's fund balance? I see that you're using about $30 million to close the budget. What is the fund balance of the town?
Where'd that money come from, Alice?
The highway fund balance is 100,000, and fund balance from previous expenditures that didn't happen and rolled over. We have money for generators, assessors reval, and, well, the roof and the carpeting.
No, that's a total of $351,000 you're showing as fund balance. I'm asking, what's the pot available to the town?
I don't know at this particular time, I
Okay.
don't know those numbers.
Okay.
I could get those, if you want those, I could get those to you
Yeah, I'd be
too.
curious.
Uh-huh,
Probably just be jealous, but
but
I'd like to know that.
it's, that's not, something to be jealous of, but, we do have monies, in different bank accounts as savings and which make up that fund balance as
Yeah, okay.
well. It's just not totally cash on hand.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Yeah, it's things that we're, for a purpose as well, so.
What you're applying is pretty close to what the village has total, so. It's a good pot of money. Okay, I'll be curious.
So I gather nobody on Zoom would have a question concerning the budget.
No, they would have talked. Okay, so let's try that again. Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt the budget for 2023.
Motion again.
Second.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Coming.
Lois.
Hey, Danielle.
Sarah, thank you very
Christie.
much for coming out.